Holly Gibney was never supposed to be a detective. Not in Bill Hodges' world. Not in the police world. Not even in her own imagination. She was the woman who rehearsed phone calls before dialing, counted steps to stay calm, apologized for apologizing. A life built around avoiding attention, not chasing killers. And yet, somewhere between fear, grief, and the supernatural, Holly became one of Stephen King's most unforgettable heroes. How does someone defined by fear become the sharpest investigator in the Hodges universe? To understand that transformation, you have to return to the moment her life quietly began to shift. When Holly first appears in Mr. Mercedes, she's living under the shadow of her overbearing mother. A lifetime of someone else controlling her voice, her clothes, her choices, her confidence. She moves through life with rituals and tics. The careful step counting, the rehearsed sentences, the nervous politeness. But underneath all that fragility is something sharp. A mind that catches tiny details like light catching broken glass. And then fate hands her the one person who will see it. Bill Hodges. When Holly stumbles into the Mr. Mercedes investigation, Bill notices what no one else ever has. She doesn't just pay attention, she absorbs the world. Patterns, inconsistencies, human behavior in microscopic detail. Most detectives bulldoze their way through clues. Holly listens for the whisper behind them. Bill lets her talk. He lets her think. He doesn't rush her, correct her, or shrink her. He simply makes room. And for the first time in her life, someone believes in Holly without trying to fix her. That's where the detective is born. With Bill, Holly discovers she can be more than the anxious woman hiding behind her own thoughts. She can follow threads others overlook. Ask the questions others are too proud or too careless to ask. And Bill gives her responsibility. Not busywork. Not be careful with this. Real responsibility. That trust becomes the fuse that lights her courage. But everything Bill teaches her will soon be tested. Because the world is about to fall apart. By the time finders, keepers, and end of watch roll in, Holly is no longer standing in the corner. She's the one quietly steering the investigation. In Finders Keepers, it's Holly who senses danger while others get distracted by the obvious clues. In End of Watch, when Bill and Jerome are overwhelmed by the escalating violence, Holly becomes the person who connects the emotional and analytical threads the case demands. She's still nervous, still uncertain, but she moves anyway. And that's what makes her dangerous. Then comes the blow that nearly breaks her. Bill Hodges dies. The grief crushes her. Bill wasn't just her mentor, he was her anchor. The one person who made the world feel navigable. But grief doesn't freeze Holly. It clarifies her. For the first time, she must stand alone. And standing alone becomes the real start of her detective life. The moment Holly truly becomes Holly happens in The Outsider. A child is murdered. A suspect is in two places at once. The evidence contradicts itself in ways that defy logic and physics. Everyone else refuses to consider the impossible. But Holly, who has lived her entire life noticing the subtle and the strange, doesn't dismiss what she doesn't understand. She studies it. And it's Holly who uncovers the truth behind the shape-shifting killer. It's Holly who refuses to be intimidated by the supernatural angle. It's Holly who walks into the dark even as her voice trembles. Her defining moment isn't the shot she fires. It's the fact that she takes the shot while afraid. That's courage in its purest form. And from that point on, she's no longer an assistant detective. She's the one people call when the impossible becomes real. By the time King brings her back in If It Bleeds, and then gives her the spotlight in Holly, 2023, she's evolved into something rare. A detective shaped not by bravado, but by vulnerability. She still has her compulsions. She still doubts herself. She still fights the voice of her mother echoing in the back of her mind. But now, Holly uses those things. Her anxiety makes her meticulous. Her sensitivity gives her an instinct for danger. Her trauma sharpens her empathy into a blade. She solves cases others can't because she notices what everyone else filters out. She isn't a superhero. She isn't even confident most of the time. But courage isn't confidence. It's doing the job anyway. And that is Holly Gibney's true superpower. A quiet woman who became unstoppable. In a world full of loud, fearless detectives, Holly stands apart because she solves crimes the way real people survive life. With fear, with doubt, with trembling hands, and with a heart that refuses to stop trying. And maybe that's why she's unforgettable. And just when it seems Holly has finally grown into the detective Bill Hodges always believed she could be, the world throws her a new kind of darkness. A letter arrives, cold, calculated, promising 14 deaths. 13 innocents. One guilty man. And suddenly, Holly is no longer just chasing a killer. She's trying to outthink someone who wants the entire city to hold its breath. At the same time, she's hired to protect Kate McKay, a women's rights activist whose message inspires devotion and dangerous obsession. Holly isn't just guarding a public figure, she's guarding a spark in a room full of gasoline. And it's here, in Never Flinch, that Holly's evolution becomes unmistakable. She's not the anxious woman counting steps anymore. She's the investigator who walks into rooms already scanning exits, patterns, motives, lies, sometimes before the danger even knows it's there. Detective Izzy Janes works the case from the police side. Holly works it from the shadows. And between them sits a killer who understands fear too well, someone who knows exactly how to weaponize it. But Holly's real test doesn't come from violence. It comes from responsibility. Every decision she makes could protect a life or leave someone exposed. And she feels every heartbeat of that weight. For someone who spent years apologizing for existing, Holly now carries the survival of others like it's carved into her bones. And then quietly, inevitably, the two threads twist together. The letter, the tour, the danger stalking the crowds, the danger stalking the woman Holly has sworn to protect. Holly steps into the crossfire not because she's fearless, but because she refuses to let fear make her small ever again. And that's the power of Never Flinch. It shows Holly not as the assistant, not as the apprentice, not as the terrified observer hiding behind Bill Hodges' strength, but as the one who stands in front, the one who shields, the one who decides. In this story, Holly Gibney becomes exactly what her life has been shaping her into from the very beginning. A quiet force against the kind of evil that counts on people being afraid. She still trembles. She still doubts. But she does the job anyway. Because some heroes don't roar. Some heroes don't chase glory. Some heroes simply never flinch.